Hi, my name is Amanda, and I am so excited to do this Reels training for you today. Just to give you a little bit of background about myself and kind of how I got into content creation and social media strategies. Basically, I started out freelancing while I was working a 9 to 5 still, and I did it for years. And I just didn't realize there was a whole world that was out here for me to create a business out of. And it wasn't until 2018 when I was expecting my first child that I was like, I don't know what it's going to look like, but I'm not going back to a 9 to 5. I want to really create a business that's going to give me the freedom that as a mother I knew I needed. So I kind of dove in as a general virtual assistant and quickly realized that I had a huge passion and love for social media and just how my mind works. I'm naturally a talker. I enjoy having conversations. The way that kind of processed in my head allowed for me to create a really beautiful, intentional social media strategy. And with that is when we have these new features on our platforms that, especially video related features, we need to kind of embrace them because that is the direction that social media is going, and resisting them is only going to hinder the results that you're seeking. So I really kind of just went in with it and realized that I had this like hidden passion for creating reels. What it's done for me confidence wise is like, I can't even put to words. I feel like it's been the missing piece in how my content needs to resonate. Like the way that I show up in my reels really showcases who I am authentically. And since then, I've just loved helping people really embrace reels so that they can enhance their social vibrancy. So let's get started. So I actually have a freebie that I'm giving to you guys exclusively first after this training, where it's going to have different engaging call to actions to use within your reels. So like when you're adding the little blurbs with words, these are going to be some actual call to actions that are going to intrigue your audience, intrigue people who are finding you on their For You pages. It's going to draw them in to want to read that caption, to go to your page, to click that link. So I also created a tutorial on here because something new that Instagram has rolled out with Reels is when they're created within Instagram, like, the ones that like, especially with like photos where they hit at the right time, they show for the right amount of length and stuff. That can be so hard to really line up and understand, like, how am I going to make this sync with the music? How am I going to do these things? Well, now there's a super simple way, and it's called the templates. So when you're looking at your reels now, and this is slowly rolling out, so if you don't see it yet or you haven't come across a profile yet, I will also share the link to the profile that I found the first save a template to, or use this template, so that you can see if it's something that's showing up within your app. This just happened on mine. I know that they've been talking about it for quite a while. I've seen so many people like hyping it up, and I've been like anxiously awaiting to be able to have this feature because I just feel like it really, one, using the features that the platform offers is always going to help support the algorithm and support the way that that platform views your profile. So I'm really big on utilizing what the platform provides before like going out and editing in other apps and different things like that. So anyways, let's get started. So first I want to go over the engaging call to actions with you. And what I've done is I've created a download for you guys to have so that you have something to reference when it comes to, like, sometimes I create this fabulous reel and I'm like, I don't even know what my message is yet. Or like maybe I don't really have things to pop up at different times throughout the segment. So maybe what I'll do is put something like save this for later, or there's bonus tips in the caption. And I'll put all the juice in the caption, but that reel itself is there to kind of like draw you in with my personality. Think about it like this: when you're out in public, like, I don't know, like what kind of scenario to use here, but like, say you're at like an outdoor festival where there's like music playing and stuff like that, and you're walking around and there's all the kinds of shops, and you just like spot somebody off to the side who is just living their best life. You know that they're enjoying who they are, what they're doing, because they're just expressing themselves in a way that like is magnetic. That's how I look at reels. I look at reels when I see someone's charisma pop up on the screen. I am like, oh my gosh, I want to know more about them. What do they have to say? What is the tone that they use when they're speaking to people? Because I feel like it's a really good like snapshot of this personality that we're trying to showcase within our social media. So I find that having like something to really draw you in to support that personality that is being showcased is major. So some of the things that I've put together in this is just, and I don't want to read it to you like word for word because I'm going to give this to you, so I want you to be able to go over it yourself as well. But it's kind of just my like outlook on reels and what they've done for me and what they could mean for you. There's such a uniqueness to reels that when you are creating them, the pride that you feel when you like finally either nail the audio dub for yourself, or like maybe you are doing a dance move and like you crushed the choreography, or maybe you're not about being in front of the camera, but like you're really good at doing like a guided talk about something. Like I absolutely love using reels when I'm doing little quick tutorials because it's such a great way to like add a voiceover, or maybe you don't even want to talk in them, but like you can totally use stock video and like add some of the trending audio and make a really impactful message that supports the caption that you've created, that it's also in exchange supporting the intention of your being on social media. So with this, you'll see some of my favorite call to actions are in here, and these things are going to really just like psychologically connect with your audience in a way that's going to make them want to see what you have to say. Like when I see ones about social media, it's like, did you know that Instagram XYZ? Or did you know that on Facebook you can do the activity log? Like there's different things that like come up with these captions that they do draw you in. They do make you want to like know more. I want to see what this can do for my social media presence. So when you give them something that is engaging, like it's already intriguing as it is, and then you support it with this caption that really just resonates and sits with them in a way that they become relatable to you. They start showing up in your content more often because they're here for what message you have. And that is building that personal brand. That is building this rapport with your audience so that when it's time for them to bring on someone for your services, it's a no-brainer that they're going to choose you because they've already seen who you are authentically. Like you're showing up in your space and you have this vibrancy about yourself that is just like, they're an expert, they know their stuff, they know how to support you, they know how to show up with value. And that's just by like creating this little 7-second clip. It doesn't even have to be something long. It's just the way that reels allow for you to position yourself really allows for your audience to see like you in your true just self. Like it's something magical because I've seen so much feedback recently around like, well, I don't want to just jump on a trend, or I don't want to do a dance. And you don't have to. I don't always dance, and trust me when I do, it is not some trending dance. It's usually something where I'm just kind of bouncing to the song, trying to fill in that space so that when I do go to edit my reel and put my like engaging like or intriguing messages that pop up on the screen, or maybe I'm coming in with some really like blunt facts about the online space. Something I am big about is I am very anti cold messaging. And I use that in my reels really often because I feel like it's so easy to relate to. And it's such a topic that needs to be talked on more. So there's different things that you'll find are like your cues that your audience really love to come to you about. So something with mine is sometimes I kind of come off sassy, but like not in a rude way. And if it ever comes off rude, it's not meant to be. But it's one of those things that like, I might put you in your place a little bit if you're feeling like a type of way about what that message is in a reel that I've created around like cold messaging, then that might mean that you need to look at your strategy and see why that's making you feel anything, because it shouldn't make you feel icky. And if something that you're doing in your strategy is making you feel icky, then that needs to be changed, because when you put that energy off, it is felt by your audience. So something I try to tell people when they're starting to do reels, for instance, is get comfortable with it. Like, you don't have to immediately start jumping into transitions. And if you do, that's amazing, because transitions are something that are really eye grabbing, and they can really support like the reach that your reel will receive. So there is benefits to it all, but don't put yourself in a position where you're going to come off less confident or uncomfortable, because this is about capturing you authentically. So again, that does not mean you have to have your face on it. Like, I always tell people, to be known is to be seen. That doesn't mean you have to be seen here. Now, yes, this day and age, that personal branding, people really like to connect with who you are. But I get sometimes being on camera just feels uncomfortable. And there is so many different types of reels that you can create that will really just connect with your audience, because it's true to who you are. So being sure that you stay true to yourself is a major like factor in like content creation overall, not even just reels. Like, you need to feel good about what you're creating, or your audience is going to feel that you're not confident in that message. And something that I actually had a conversation this week about was how content is really like the core to your strategy, because when you're creating that content, you're also making sure that it sets the tone to how you engage, how you're lead sourcing, how you're putting out stories. Like, if you come to my social media feed and you see that I'm talking about like, I don't like cold messages, or your strategy isn't working for you, and then all of a sudden the very first interaction you receive from me is a cold message where I'm pitching you my new offer, and you're like, well, wait a second, this person doesn't match what they're putting out there, that's a red flag. So you want to make sure that overall on your social media that the tone is there. Like, you're setting the tone. So if your tone is that you're an introvert, that's okay. There's ways to still show up and be you on the social media space. But basically with this, like, I just kind of gave you guys some of like little tips and different things that you can do. So this will be available to you guys. I wanted to also really be able to provide you with something that you could actually implement. And with the whole, like, I may not like being on video, or I'm not really good at dancing, or I don't really know what my like pointing things are going to be, you can also use photos. Like, there is so much that you can do. Think about like the behind the scenes style stuff you can do. I could literally be taking pictures right now of this to create a reel off of. And so what I want to do is I want to share this with you guys and kind of talk through it as it's playing. So let me just turn this down just a little bit. So basically what you're seeing here is a now I've sped this up so that it didn't take forever and so that I could use it in social medias. But basically I had found one of the reels where it had the use the template little icon, which you'll see in like the lower area here, or the little three dots. You can click it and you can create it from there as well. But basically I was able to take the template that they had on their reel, and I was able to upload the amount of photos, and it creates this reel with the same audio, the same timing, and everything. And it really just takes that, like, it makes the simplicity. So here you'll see use the template. You can also click in the little three dots and use the template button as well. So this is something that I absolutely love, because this makes the process, and I'll play it again, but it makes the process of like, what am I going to create? How am I going to create it? I was very much a picture person before getting into video. So like, think about throughout your day, the different things you can take a picture of. You can take photos of your morning routine where you're behind the camera, show that behind the scenes. Like, you're still being vulnerable with your audience because you're showing them who you are, but it doesn't mean you're showing your face, or you're not having to speak or do these little catchy things. So again, all you would need to do is when you come across a reel and you see the use a template, you would click it, and then you can just go through your photos and really select the ones that you want to do. And you don't have to think about the timing of, oh my gosh, how am I going to figure out how to sync these images up? How am I going to figure out how to make sure it hits on the right beats or it comes in at the right moments? It takes all of the guesswork away because you're actually able to just utilize the template that's on there. Now, you won't see it on all reels, and I know we see a lot of the reels where like they give you the breakdown of like how many seconds that they are like to come in at, or how many pictures to have. Like I saved one probably 2 months ago where it was like, you need 7 pictures that are going to play for 2 seconds, and then you need 3 videos that are like 3.3 seconds. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is making my brain hurt because I don't know how to like really line it up. Because when you think about how you're editing the reels, we don't really see like the timestamps the way that you would think when you're thinking video editing. Or maybe you don't know anything about video editing, and the idea of having to like make times, like the time changes hit at the right times, it can just be overwhelming. And like you're trying to like embrace reels as it is and really see like what they can do for your business. And then it can really stop you in your tracks if that reel is so confusing for you to figure out that you end up going, you know what, I spent all day trying to create this reel and it just didn't come out. Like, why am I spending hours upon hours on a piece of content that's going to play for 7 seconds? And that's where that comfortability needs to come in. That's where you need to take time to really showcase how your like not showcase, sorry. So you really need to take the time to be mindful of like what your message is, know who your audience is, know who you're speaking to. So for me, like my audience really likes that my mom will always go, she's like, Amanda, why are you cussing in one of your reels? Like, isn't that going to upset your clients? And I'm like, no, mom, what it does in this online space is when you show up and you're playful and you showcase who you are, just you, no one like turns away from that. That's meant to be with like in alignment with you. So, I'm big on alignment. Like I started using the term social unicorn when I was like transitioning into more like social media roles. And I remember being fearful that like this was going to be too unique to me. And it was going to be something that was going to like turn off some of my clients. But what it did is really brought me people who like were my people. And I embraced that. And so I've taken that same idea and just kept that intention there in how I move through social medias. So you get the same version of me on this video that you get in my reels, that you get on my static photos in my feed, that you get on my carousel posts, that you get in my stories, that you would get in person with me is the same person that you would get on socials with me. If my son's having a bad day, I did a training video last year and it was like a 3-day masterclass and he had a full-blown tantrum during it. And I just rolled with it and I actually turned it into content, which he's probably not going to be happy with me with in the future. But it's just about showing people that they can relate to you and opening up in another way. So I did want to show you guys just a little bit more of a breakdown of how the template works. And then I'll just start wrapping this up. So here you can see me editing the video where it just, all I had to do was select, I think it's 11 photos or it's like 10 photos in one video. And I just used this because it was such an easy way to like utilize this template, but it really showcases your photos so much better. And so as I just wrap this up for you guys, and I'm sorry if I kind of rolled through it. I have a toddler who is almost 4, and time can sometimes be minimal that I get to like flow through something like this without interruptions, which I just had to take a pause because there was an interruption because he just made a giant mess in my room while I've been doing this. So it's just one of those things that when you show up ready to just embrace that social media platform that you're on. So Reels is something that's really connected with Instagram, but it's now also part of Facebook, which is really neat because Facebook's actually starting to roll out their Facebook Reels payment program. So what they do is they open it up for like a 30-day window, and the Reels that you create could potentially earn creators income. And I think that's so beautiful. So there's things like this where you're able to actually monetize off the reels. You're actually able to convert your audience into clients. You're able to really just connect with that audience in a way that is super, super powerful. Yeah, we all like seeing the likes and the numbers and everything else, but the way a reel makes me feel after I've created it and I've put the caption with it and it's got all the things that are just like, oh wow, that's hitting at the right part, or my little call to action really popped at the right moment. There's something that ignites me that just makes me go, you know what? That was better than if I just created a graphic to go with it, or if I just created something simple to go with my content. Like, we're in a place where we all want to stand out. We need to like sparkle in a way that really shows off our own magic. And I think reels are a really beautiful way to do that. And it's a really captivating way to connect with your audience. I know sometimes like the song itself is what will draw me in, or like how great of actors some of us can be, or like improv, or how creative that we really just get to be in this online space. So I think sometimes that perspective just needs to be shifted from, I don't want to spend more time on content creation, I don't want to spend more time on socials, to just being more intentional in the time that we're spending doing these things will really like fill your cup more than it'll drain it. Because when I get to create something that I'm like, someone in my audience needs to either hear this, see this, or be reminded of it, or maybe it's something that they didn't realize about themselves that isn't working in their own strategy, and it's like, okay, here's that aha moment. Amanda said this in her reel, and maybe that's what's wrong with my strategy. Maybe I'm not being authentic enough. Maybe I'm not being consistent enough. Maybe I'm showing up too much, whatever it may be. Or maybe I'm showing up really pitchy in my messages. Like, there's so many different things that we can learn from each other, that reels are a really great way to like stand out within your niche and like really position yourself as an expert, because it really shows like how you think things through. Like, sometimes when I have a certain audio, my fiance will go, well, how did you even get the idea to like connect it with that topic? Like, I would have never thought about that. And sometimes it's not so much about the what the audio is saying, it's the attitude behind the audio that really connects with your like intention of that reel being created. Like, when I get these cold messages and it just doesn't feel good, I kind of come back with like a sassier, like funny spin on how I want to relay that message. And I think for me, it's something that it kind of puts the fun back into what we're doing. Like, I think for so long, a lot of us got lost in like the fluff of what it is to be an online entrepreneur, when realistically, like, we started ignoring different things, like why cold messaging isn't a great tactic, or why when you connect with females in the online space, it needs to become from such a place of integrity, because as women, that's like how we think about things. There's just so much to it now that I think when you get raw, when you get vulnerable, when you open yourself up to be playful and like just embracing everything that social media can do for your business, it can really elevate where you've been in your business to where you're going. This year was like a huge year for me so far, where like just the missing pieces have like fallen into place. Things that I had gaps on in my business just didn't make sense leading up to this year. And just as I started really transitioning what kind of message I really wanted to have on social media, I realized like we all are entrepreneurs because we don't fit in the box that like the 9 to 5 life was really giving us. And because of that, it's really imperative that we stay passionate about what we're doing. Like, something that I recently gave advice on was, someone was kind of like, I'm dreading batching my content for June, and I had them take a little bit of like a social media break to kind of see how it triggered their algorithm for their impressions and things like that. And when she came back after like a week off of, like, she just kind of took off during that time, she like had such great results coming back that she was like, I just don't want to batch content. And I said, then why do you need to? If batching content doesn't feel aligned with you and then you force yourself to batch it, your audience is going to feel some sort of resistance in that process. So what I'm trying to say is that Reels have helped me really embrace who I am on socials because it puts you out of the box. It lets you get extremely creative in a way that, like, you can really meticulously plan out your content for that reel in a way that, like, okay, I kind of create reels backwards. A lot of time my caption's not there. I have no idea what my intention is on, like, the overall message, but something has lit me up, like a cold DM, or somebody telling me that they don't have more time to spend on social media and not wanting to change their process. It lights me up to go and create a reel that gets to, like, talk about, well, you could spend just an hour on social media, but if you're intentional behind it, then, like, you can do 15 minutes of this and you could do 7 minutes of this, and look at what that does for your, like, the impact that your social media presence is bringing. So typically this is when I would open up for questions, but since this is now having to be pre-recorded with all of the issues, I just want to let you guys know that, like, don't be scared to put yourself out there to, like, start learning reels, start getting playful with them, like, do little easy things with reels, because that's how I started. Like, I think my very first reel is I'm, like, reciting lyrics back to um That Girl Is Poison, and, like, it's so awkward. It's not what the intention of a reel is supposed to be, but it's reflecting on, like, that's where I came from and that's how I started. And I just was learning. I was just learning, and I think your audience will be really receptive to seeing that you're doing things to put yourself in a place to elevate your business. So if any questions come up, let me know. I also will be sure to include the links for the download for the engaging call to actions, as well as the link to the reel that I used a template from, so you can see if you have that feature yet. Facebook does not have these features yet, so it's one of those things that I typically create my reel within Instagram and I'll repurpose it from there to the other platforms, because I just prefer how reels are created through Instagram. And I think you get a lot less glitches. Unfortunately, there always are glitches when it comes to social media, it seems like. But just really starting to understand how a reel works, how you can start implementing them. I love sharing reels inspiration. Like, I know sometimes people's minds don't work the same ways that mine do. So it's one of those things that, like, I'll send someone a reel sometimes, like, I think if you broke it down like this with this kind of message, it could be really impactful. So if there's any questions that come up, please don't hesitate. Again, I'm Amanda. At my social media handle is at amandalee.social. And I just look forward to, like, seeing how this impacts you guys. And I'm so sorry that at the end here we're going to have a little visitor. All right. All right. Thank you guys. Have a great day.